Hello, I'm Dr. David Alter. A question that I'm often asked is to share a little bit about my background, how I came to be a psychologist, and how I developed the particular focus in psychology and psychotherapy that I bring to the work that I do with my clients. So I'd like to talk with you today a little bit about that background, the path that I took to end up right here, right now, talking to you about what I do and how what I do can be helpful to you. Let's dive right in. Two of the earliest influencers on my road to becoming a psychologist were my mother, who was a teacher, and my father, who was a neurologist. Between the two of them, I saw the importance of being able to communicate, to convey information, and how the information that we convey, how the information that we share, and the way that we share it strongly influences the people who are on the receiving end of that information. That was mostly from my mother, the teacher. My father, the neurologist, really intrigued me with the way that he studied and researched and taught about the brain, the way this 3-pound organ that sits inside of our heads has such a powerful and organizing influence on not only every other part of our body, but on how we function in the day-to-day world. Many years later, I attended graduate school, a school that was housed in the middle of a medical school. In that graduate training program, on my way to earning my PhD, I studied the way the brain, the mind, and our social connections connect to each other. That was a major influence of the program. So throughout that training, I was really interested in how we can influence those different intersections as they affect our day-to-day health. So I saw many people suffering with all sorts of different injuries and illnesses affecting the body, illnesses affecting the brain, illnesses affecting social relationships. And through that training, I began to see that there are lots and lots of different ways in which brain and mind and body operate together in this social environment, and that there are many different ways that we can influence those 4 different dimensions so that the person is able to find their way back to a heightened degree of health. Years later, I found myself in clinical practice, working as a clinical psychologist here in the Twin Cities. Back then, I began to work to put together all of the things that I had learned, this world of intersections, of interactions, all within a context of holism, holistic health. My approach brought together about 3 or 4 different training backgrounds that helped me practice my particular form of holistic psychology or integrative psychology. Some people think of it as mind-body medicine. But whatever name it goes by, I brought to it a number of different backgrounds. The first is what's called clinical health psychology. That is the field that studies how it is that we can use mind, brain, and body to influence illness on the road back to health. I also brought with it a background in clinical neuropsychology. So with a deep study of the brain and its connection to day-to-day behavior, I was able to understand a bit more about what it is that's going on with a person who's struggling with depression at the brain level and how it affects their behavior, their attitude and outlook, and how that's different than a person struggling with trauma or bodily pain, like in digestive disorders. How can we use an understanding of the brain and its impact on behavior to help people move back toward improved day-to-day health? I also brought with me a perspective from the world of clinical hypnosis, which I've studied now for over 20 years. Hypnosis shows me that our mind is the portal. It's the gateway through which we can be influenced to modify, to change, to develop and renew new attitudes, outlooks, and patterns of thinking and functioning that can work dramatically to make a difference in how we feel and function on a day-to-day basis. It really helped me understand that we are not fixed. We are always evolving in one direction or another, and my goal is to be able to help us evolve in the direction of improved health. And finally, I brought into my practice a strong focus on the way our social world influences mind, brain, and body. So I pay a lot of attention to what's called systems, family systems theory, coming from the way that we understand how different pieces and parts work together to affect the whole. You see that in how I work in my day-to-day practice, where I focus on small changes that, with encouragement and reinforcement, can lead to very big, powerful, and even transformative changes in the lives of the people that I work with. So that gives you a bit of an idea of how I came to be the clinical psychologist that I am at this stage in my professional career. For now, take care, and thanks for tuning in.